Greetings, everyone. It's Payman Lewis, your host, your friend, your coach. Today, I have another great, unique, and very special guest. My new dear friend, Dr. Madlena Kantscheff, originally from Bulgaria, been living for the past 25,000 years in Germany. And we had a beautiful conversation about before the holidays. Today is Saturday, January 4th, 5 p.m. here in Asia, for it's like 11 a.m. in Germany, and we connected through a call, one of the serving circle calls for Europe about a month and a half ago, something like that.
Yeah.
We connected, and we had, as I said, beautiful chat about 2, 3 weeks ago, and from the get-go, we had quite a few things in common, and I knew that I had to bring her on the podcast, and here she is. A little bit about her. She's a carrier of the divine light, sorry. She's very blessed to know that who she is, what she stands for, and what she will not tolerate anymore by setting up healthy boundaries. She invites others to respect those boundaries and help them set those boundaries for themselves. And the mutual language that they all have in common is that of love and care. So also she's been and the dental practice business for a long time, professional dentist as well. And yeah, and she's all about a deeper work, deeper impact, bigger than her, which is all about impact, inspiring and empowering. And that's why she's here today on this episode of Leaders with a Heart. So without any further ado, Dr. Madlena, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure having you here with us.
It's absolute honor to be here. Thank you.
Pleasure's all mine. We're going to talk about your business, your impact, all good stuff later on. But first and foremost, what I really want to know is who's Madlena as a person, as a human being, and as a woman before the business lady. We're going to talk about that later on. As a woman, as a human being, who's Madlena?
Well, we can talk about this for a long time, but first of all, I am a mother and a grandmother, and this is a great place to be. I was just talking to my daughter today. I took care of my grandchildren last night so that the parents could have a date and don't listen to children wanting something at 5 a.m. in the morning. This is the blessing of having children / grandchildren. So I was talking to my daughter and I said, because I was in the process of building my dental practice and raising 2 children, I could have been a better mother without any judgment. And what I could not do because of a lack of time, now I am doing it with the grandchildren. And they ask me questions which are not always very easy to answer because this new generation, they feel between the lines. You cannot lie to them. You cannot pretend that something is not authentic. They tell you straightforward, no matter how old they are. So, and most of all, as you introduced me beautifully, I see myself as a carrier of divine light. Because in the world in which we're living right now, more than anything else, is important to be our authentic selves without having to fear to think about what are others thinking of us, because we are different. We think out of the box, we act out of the box, whatever the box is. And by being our authentic self, we automatically invite others to do the same to their extent and in their speed. And so by working at the dental practice, where I'm currently working at the reception part-time every single day, I see that as an invitation to invite people who come to us as patients also to dare to be their authentic self. Especially the younger generation, our children and our grandchildren, they are very open to that because the energies are different.
Absolutely. There are starlights. They are much more advanced spiritually than those of us born before because they come from a different frequency. They're here to further assist with elevating the frequency of everyone around them.
And I will allow myself to tap on our shoulders. I'm a little bit younger than you, yet the generation which was born in the 60s and in the 70s, we paved the way so that the generation right now has this opportunity to dare to think differently and to act differently. We didn't know how to do it. We just opened the doors, the gates to them intuitively by doing relatively hard work. And this is something our generation can be proud of. I don't want to miss to undermine that.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's beautiful. Just give me 1 second, please. 1 second. All right, wonderful. Love that. We're going to unpack all of that. But first and foremost, what I like to do is to ask you a series of rapid fire questions to further get to know you as a person, as a human being. Ready?
Ready.
What makes you happy?
Makes me very happy. What makes me happy?
Yes.
To make others happy.
What makes you smile?
Make others smile.
Love that. Now let's take the happiness factor a couple of notches higher. What sets your heart on fire? What makes your soul come alive?
Being able to touch others people's lives for better.
Love that.
And if I am in a position to make one person smile today, it was worth it to spend the day.
Absolutely.
No
Absolutely.
matter what age is this person, it could be a newborn baby or someone who is 90 and older.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm with you on that. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
The lack of respect. There is one thing I have difficulties to deal with. I firmly believe that every human being has the fundamental right to be respected.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
if this right is not honored as a sacred, this is a sacred right of every human being, no matter what color, what cultural background, what position in the society, the person who cleans the streets and the garbage man has the same right to be respected as the CEO of the biggest company in the world and the president of the biggest country in the world. The same right, because we are all part of the divine creation. We are uniquely different, and yet we have the same rights. And when we knowingly or not knowingly, consciously or subconsciously, disrespect these rights, that makes me very sad and sometimes angry.
I'm with you. Absolutely. We're all drops of the same ocean, regardless of color, religion, and all the other things. Absolutely. We are brothers and sisters at a soul level. Absolutely.
Exactly. We are brothers and sisters because we are part of this divine creation.
Absolutely. I'm completely with you. Now, what scares you?
You want an honest answer?
Yes, please.
Nothing.
Oh, I love that.
I'm not arrogant. I'm honest 100%. I reflect upon this question, and I'll be very honest with you. There were moments in my life when I will be fearful of death. This fear has been cured, so to say. And I'll tell you why nothing scares me, because I've asked my question as well. Madlena, is it your ego telling you that nothing scares you? No, it goes deeper. When I live my life, I live it most of the time, of course, with this deep knowing that divine is walking in front of me, behind me, to my right, to my left, but mostly within me. And what can be against me when divine is with me?
Love that. Love that. Beautiful. Was it easy for you to get to that realization that nothing scares you?
No. 3 times no. It required a path of challenges, of surrendering, of self-reflection, and yet it is worth it. Everything which I was blessed to overcome, every lesson which I was invited by life and by the divine to learn was and is worth it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's no right or wrong. There's no mistakes. Just like you're saying, you either learn or you earn. Both ways, you win, you know? And I would say, I would even venture saying that when you actually learn, it's much more valuable than when you just earn, you know?
And you can have both
Mm-hmm.
when you combine them beautifully, because the more we serve from our hearts in the unique way we can serve, the more we earn. And the abundance is not only abundance of money, it's abundance of respect, of love, of appreciation. For me personally, the the currency of the new millennium is no more money, it is relationships.
Oh, absolutely. As the saying says, your network is your net worth,
Yeah.
you know?
There's this beautiful saying, one phone call can do for you more than $1 million.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally. Because again, one of my realization that completely changed my life from a personal growth perspective, but also the final puzzle of what allowed me to finally get the breakthrough in business was realizing that business is not a numbers game. Sure, numbers matter, but ultimately it's a relationship nurturing process, especially when you're selling anything high ticket, over $1,000, pounds, or euros, but one thing and one thing only, trust. Now, how do
Yeah.
you build trust? By building rapport. How do you build rapport? By having heart-to-heart conversations, not trying to sell, convince, trying to be fake. No, just heart-to-heart conversation. Just like we've done since the first human and this planet. Around first was around the fire, then around the table, now around this computer and around the world, you know? So absolutely, it's all about trust. Love that. You like traveling, don't you?
I do.
All right. I'm sure we can do an entire episode just on traveling. We may do that in the
Yeah,
future,
definitely.
but I'd like to take you down a different type of traveling, down memory lane. Go back to when you were growing up. You know, when we're kids, people around us, family, friends, relatives, neighbors, teachers ask us, "Hey, Madlena, what do you want to become when you grow up?" What does your answer as a little girl to that question?
I will give you a very honest answer.
Please.
I realized at a very young age, and I'll take 2 minutes just to explain the background. I was born in a family in Bulgaria where my father spent 12 years of his life as a political prisoner in a very severe prison in Bulgaria, from the age of 20 to 32, the best years of his life, quotation mark, of course. So he stood up for what he believed to be true and was brought into prison. Was that right or wrong? That's not our conversation. However, as he was blessed to survive and to get out of the prison, he didn't have the chances to unfold as a human being, as a man, because he always had this background of being society enemy. So for me, I distinctly remember I was probably 5, maybe 6. I realized instinctively that this man will not be in a position to provide for the family because of this background story. That's why I took the time to explain this. To answer your question, as I was a small girl, I knew that I have to provide for the family. And I gave myself this promise, this vow, that I'm going to provide for the family. And I'm going to say it with a healthy confidence. At the age of 23, I was blessed to have obtained occupation as a dentist, which allowed me to fulfill this vow. I was providing for a family. Does that answer your question?
Oh, beautifully. Thank you. Love that. Let's stay to when you were growing up as a kid. What was your relationship with school? Did you love school or hate school?
Yes. For me, um, the most exciting day of my life, as far as I remember, was the evening and the night before I went to school the first time. I distinctly remember my school bag. I wanted to bring everything possible into it, which of course was not appropriate. And yet at some point I realized it's too heavy for me to carry. So the whole night I didn't sleep because the excitement was so big. My soul knew that the knowledge, the ability to read will open for me doors which are incredible. These are the doors to connect with the world. And as you said beautifully, I was born and grew up in Bulgaria. This is a small country in southeastern part of Europe. And even now, no more than 8 million people all over the world speak the Slavic language. And I distinctly remember in the fourth grade, I realized that this is not the language which will open the doors for me to connect with the world. And at this age, in the fourth grade, I asked my parents to do whatever it takes, what was possible, also financially, to enable me to start learning English. And so this was, of course, a connection with the world.
Beautiful. Love that. How challenging was it for you to learn English back then in Bulgaria?
It wasn't challenging compared to German, and I'm going to say it lovingly, because English, as you know, it's very easy to learn as a grammar. Of
Mhm.
course, it's a different alphabet because in Bulgaria we have the Cyrillic one. Yet, this inner driving, Madlena, learn this language because it's going to open the doors for you. All of a sudden, I could read English books. This was so exciting. All of a sudden, I could have connection with authors from the UK, from the US, from all over the world. So I don't remember to have moments of having had difficulties by learning English. As I said, it was different with German.
Yes, yes, yes. Wow. Awesome. When you were in school, what was your favorite and least favorite subjects?
Geography,
Mm.
because it connected me, at least on paper, with the whole world. So seeing what's happening in Asia, you remember, as I told you, it was so interesting for me to see that Vietnam has a border of 1,000 kilometers with China. It's exciting to see all these countries in this beautiful continent, Africa, North America, South America, Australia, New Zealand. How exciting is this?
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Imagine that we were in the same class, say in grade 10 or 11. What kind of student and girl were you back then? Were you the shy one, the quiet type, the nerdy one, the chatterbox, the cheerleader, the superstar? What were you back then?
I was definitely a cheerleader
Mm.
because this desire to impact the lives of others, which makes my heart sing, back then
Mm.
made it sing, and today it was already present. It's a part of my nature. So I
Mm.
was definitely a cheerleader. And I was a hardworking student because I had a goal. As soon as possible, obtain an occupation so that you can feed the family.
Mm. How
And
many?
it requires a hard work.
Absolutely. How many siblings do you have?
How many?
Siblings, brothers and
I
sisters.
have one brother,
Okay.
and he's younger than me. So
Oh
he
yeah.
was one of the people who were on my list. And I'm saying this respectfully and lovingly, to be provided for, at least for a while.
Mhm. Love that. So when you were in school, in high school, university, were you popular with the boys?
Yeah, very much so. I was just about to tell you that it was very natural for me, and between me and you now as well, it's easier for me, and I'm saying this respectfully, with no judgment. It's much, much easier for me to interact with men as with women. It's just my nature. So we women, we have our differences. We complement it with men beautifully. Yet if you ask me to work with 100 men, give me two choices. Madlena, you have the opportunity to work on a project with 100 men. And please, women who are listening to this, don't take it personally. I'm talking from my heart. So the one option is work with 100 men, and the other option is work with 5 women. What do you think I'm going to choose?
I think the men.
Yeah.
Why is that?
This is my nature. I played soccer with the boys as I started the first grade. This was very natural for me to go on the street and just pick up some boys and let's play soccer with the old ball which we had at our disposal. So it's very natural for me. And at the same time, interacting with women and working with women have taught me incredible lessons. I want to say this with respect toward the female people who are the women who are listening to our conversation.
Beautiful. That's a powerful statement. I really want to expand on that in a moment. But one question I want to ask about relationships. How did you meet your husband?
It's a very interesting story. Can I take 2 minutes to tell you?
Take all the minutes you need. Within reason, that is.
I finished my education to become a dentist at the University of Sofia, the capital of Bulgaria. This was back in 84. And I distinctly remember that I was a person always, and still I am, which reflects upon life. And back in 1985, you were still not born.
I was 4.5. I was 5.
So I distinctly remember there was a moment in my life where I sat down. I went back to the university. I was invited to continue my education so that I can obtain a higher degree. It could be also a professor, on a side note. So I'm sitting and reflecting upon 3 questions. So this is a couple of decades ago, and I remember the questions. The question number 1 was, Madlena, do you want the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, speak Bulgarian? The answer came instantly, no. And I, what? The answer came. The second question was, do you want the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years to live in this society? And again, no judgment. This was back during the Cold War, a communist country. It was 85 was already, the wind of change was blowing, yet it was 85. The answer of this question was for me very clearly no. And the third question was, do you want to continue? Because I signed a contract for 2 years further education and continue working for the university, for the school, the dental school. So the question was, do you want to work the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years for this university? The answer was no. I let this be an answer. I didn't do anything about this. I got the answers and I let go. 2 weeks after that, I was sharing an office at the university, at the dental school in Sofia with 2 colleagues of mine. There was a knock on the door during the lunch break. I opened the door and 3 men stand there. One of them, a dear friend of mine, a colleague of mine who was back then a dental surgeon, a very committed one, and 2 strangers. So they invited me for dinner for the same day. We went out, had a nice conversation, and one of these strangers became my husband.
Wow.
So when I reflect back then, I have explanation for myself. Through the reflection, I was invited to dive into and to listen to the answers, and also to take the answers serious, not ignore them.
Mm.
I already communicated with the divine what I don't want. And only 2 weeks after that, divine opened the door for me, because my husband I met opened the doors for me to move to Germany, because he was coming to visit Bulgaria, was living in Germany.
Wow.
This is how these three answers, what I don't want, communicated with higher power, with the divine, what I really want, my heart, my soul, and divine opened the door. And this in itself, it's magic, right? Miracle.
Indeed. What made you see or realize that, hey, this is the one, this is the man?
Well, it took him a year to convince me.
Okay.
Well, to answer your question seriously, is the value system has to be in alignment. What we stand for has to be in alignment, because when you make the decision to share your life with someone, then usually there is not only marriage, or at least living together, there is a desire to raise children together. And it's very important that the value system is in alignment for the biggest part.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Beautiful. Let's move forward. Sorry, what was your very first job? And do you remember how much you got paid the first time you worked?
I distinctly remember. I was 11.
Wow.
In a original, you know how life works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In a regional newspaper,
Oh, yes.
there was an invitation to write an article. And to write an article about a famous person who was born in the city which I was born and grew up. So my teacher invited me to write this article, and I took it as an honor and a privilege.
Yeah.
I wrote the article, and the little I knew, all of a sudden they called me and I said, come and pick up your payment. And it was back then, I will never forget, it was 4 leva. This is our Bulgarian currency still. And you can imagine the monthly income back then was 120 leva. So I got 4 levas 11 years old. I was at the top of the world. What I did with this 4 leva, you will want to know, right?
Yes.
So, and this shows you how a human being ticks. I went to the next supermarket and bought 3 bottles of chocolates, and I shared them with my classmates.
Oh, so sweet.
Absolutely. So when I'm reflecting back then, I knew I don't want to go and buy something only for myself. The true happiness is when you share it with others.
Absolutely.
But this was my first job.
Love that. There's one question, burning question I have about that article. Can you guess what that question is?
No, tell me.
Who did you write the article about?
Well, this was, the theme was already given. As far as I remember, we were celebrating the 100th birthday of a famous citizen of the city. And he was also, the school I went to was carrying his name. And because of the celebration of the 100th birthday, we wanted to honor. And of course, everyone who was grown up could have written this article. However, a teenager at the age of 11 writes differently.
Absolutely.
And obviously the article was well received. I don't remember the details. I just remember that this fall level was so exciting for me.
And the world team.
Yeah, absolutely. As if you were giving me now 4 million. So this is how I felt, because it was unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, as I said, clear to me, hey, share it with the
Absolutely.
classmates.
Yeah, that's the most beautiful thing. What was the name of that person that you wrote the article about?
The name of this man is Stefan Peshev, and the name of the school is still the same,
Hmm.
which honors this man. He was fighting against Bulgaria, was for 500 years, and I'm saying respectfully, these are historical facts, under the Turkish
Yeah.
occupation.
Mm-hmm.
And so this man in the early 1800 was one of the leaders of fighting for the freedom of the country, for
Beautiful.
um, getting out of this economical and political dependency.
So let me
And
write this
so they
down.
still honor, imagine, probably now his 150th birthday.
You said Stefan Peshoff?
Stefan Peshev.
Peshev.
And
Okay.
this is the name of the school. I still have family and schoolmates and friends, and I know that they keep this tradition in this school, the name as well, and they celebrate his contribution to the country.
You still have that article?
Certainly, with writing articles by the nowadays students, right?
Do you happen to still have that article?
Not I wrote articles, but I didn't get paid for them.
No, no, no. What I mean is, do you still have that initial article that you mentioned about
Oh,
Stefan?
no, no, no. But that's a great invitation. I can find it
I was about to get there.
because
Okay?
because they keep the
The archives, yes.
articles. And this was a regional newspaper, which was published, as far as I remember, only once a week because of
Mhm.
financial reasons as well. So when I recall back which year I was 11, I was born 61, so it was 72. And check back with his birthday. So that's a nice invitation. Thank you. I can find
You're
out.
welcome. And please share it. I share it when you do.
Absolutely,
Maybe
because
even translate it in English after, you know?
yeah, yeah. You can translate it easily or
Yeah,
let
beautiful.
Google translate it.
Beautiful. Let's move forward. How would from the moment you left school to now, how would you describe your path? Would you say it was pretty much straightforward once you're into one lane? It was smooth sailing, you were set for life. Was it more like a turns and twists, like a roller coaster?
It was a roller coaster of emotions and of ups and downs and ups
Mhm.
and downs. And I don't want to have it differently.
Oh, absolutely. That's more fun because if it was just smooth sailing would be boring and wouldn't learn any lesson.
Well, back then, when you are on, or me, or a human being is on our knees,
Mm-hmm.
we think and feel differently. The
Absolutely.
more wiser we get and the more mature we get, then we reflect upon this and we see this great chance to get stronger,
Mm,
more mature, wiser, and more grateful, so that we learn to appreciate the preciousness of life itself.
absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. You know, there's a saying that says, change your story, change your life. That's one of my favorite saying. And by story, I mean what we tell ourselves all day long in our head. So when you're Madlena in your darkest time, most challenging period of your life, how did you change your story internally to change your reality externally?
Well, my experience is that I personally didn't change it in this darkest moment.
Mm,
what I've learned from life is that the darkest night of the soul, let's call it in this way, it's an invitation for us to let go and let
Mm.
divine, to learn to surrender.
Mm.
And I'll give you one example. I grew up in a family where the family was supporting each other, the family members. And yet we had our story of a cultural upbringing. What
Mhm.
I mean by that is my grandmother, mother's side, and my mother will teach me as a probably 5, 6 years old girl that a woman walks 3 steps behind a man.
Oh, yes.
And there are 2 reasons for that. Reason number one is that a man always financially provides for a woman. And I'm talking about year 65, 66. We're not after the Second War, right? And I'm saying this respectfully. This is the truth. The second reason is a man is usually physically stronger than a woman. And when he has this desire, necessity, he can hurt a woman physically. This is how I was taught. And I distinctly remember that that every cell of my body was screaming out, no, that cannot be true. This wisdom of the soul of everyone, woman or a man, it cannot be true. Why would a man provide for a woman in our modern times? We support each other financially. So to get back, and why would a man hurt a woman? There is a way to communicate with each other without physical abuse, right? So for me, this was the moment where the decision was made. This story, which is a story of our family, of my ancestors, mother and father side, this story, I'm going to break it. It's not going to be my story, and it was never my story. So that any descendant after me in our family and hopefully in our country and any other country in the world will live by these rules I shared with you. So this is a beautiful example of change your story, change your life. Grow up as a woman who is confident in a healthy manner, self-sufficient, and is sharing everything with a man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Beautiful. Tell us about your business. What's your impact in the world? How are you making the world a better place?
This is a question that cannot be answered with a couple of questions. I firmly believe that we carry, let me tell you this very quickly.
Please.
As I was studying in Bulgaria dentistry, back then the Bulgarian society was 100% guided by science, by the theory of Darwin and so on, which opened beautiful doors for all of us. I'm very grateful. However, I distinctly remember as we were studying the structure, the anatomy and physiology of a human eye, we all looked at each other and said, this is so perfectly done that it cannot be only the evolution. There must be something bigger than that. There must be a power which can create such a perfect eye, ear, every part of a human body. And we started questioning this absolute power of the evolution. We started questioning that. It was the second year of our study. So this started back then. Then as a dentist, I always observed the connection between the teeth and every part of a human body. I'll give you just an example. The front teeth, upper and lower jaw, their health is related to your relationship with your parents.
Which
And
one?
when you know that,
Which one?
on a physical level, you take care of the cavities and everything else. On a level of energy, emotions, you touch on that. What is your relationship, you ask a patient, with your father? I distinctly remember a patient, and actually we were at a workshop, and we're having a break, and a lady says, my dentist is still wondering why out of the blue a front teeth in my lower jaw broke up. And remember asking her, what's your relationship with your father? And the lower jaw dropped. Back to your question. I firmly believe that we carry energetical and other parts of other kinds of burdens and attachments in our cells, in our body, in our physical, emotional, spiritual, energetical, and mental body. And these attachments are inherited by us from our ancestors. I firmly believe that when a soul transitions in another dimension, that the energy does not disappear. This energy is carried by the descendants. And how do I impact the world? For a person who is willing and ready, the stress is on the word ready, to receive the grace of an answered prayer to the divine. I love walking the path with this person, pray to the divine on the behalf of this person, and being blessed to witness miracles. I hope that answers your questions, at least.
Oh, yes,
partially.
Love that, love that, love that, love that. How long have you been doing that?
Since 2016, because working as a dentist is a full-time job. You see many things, but you don't have the time to share this with the patients. And to be very honest with you, as much as I love serving people, and as much as I loved serving people as a dentist, my heart was suffering in my soul, because at the end of the working day, we'll sit down with as a dentist, the dental practice. We'll sit down with the members of our team, and I'll ask the question, how do you feel in your heart? What we did today, was that really dentistry? And the answer was always no. A patient told us that our dental practice is a island of healing in the ocean of human suffering.
Wow.
So at some point, after working as a dentist for 20 years, I took a leap of faith and I followed my heart calling. In 2016, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. A lady who was and still based in Austin, Texas, invited me to become her student. And I am very blessed. She was back then as well. So she introduced me to her community in 2016. And coming out of a brick and mortar business as a dentist, a very traditional occupation, I was given the chance, the opportunity to connect with people from all over the world online. And it took, of course, some time to adjust to it. Today, I see it as one of the greatest blessings in my life. because all of a sudden I'm talking to a person like you who is based at least 10,000 miles to the east of where I live. All of a sudden I was talking to people from Australia, and I'm thinking, I need 22 hours to get flight to get to Australia. And I'm
Oh my
talking to
God.
this person,
Mhm.
respecting, of course, the time differences and so on. So this gave me the chance to do what I am meant to do.
Oh, wow. Speaking of that, what is the number one pain point you solve for your clients, and what is the number one benefit they get by working with you?
The pain point is always very individual. When I start talking to a person, I ask a person, what is the biggest challenge in your life right now?
Mm.
And I'll give you just an example. I distinctly remember talking to a lady from Toronto, Canada. Yes, really, from Toronto, Canada. And her biggest challenge was, I feel very lonely because of the sea time, right? So I asked a couple of questions and I let her talk and I listened. After 15 minutes, she said, actually, my biggest challenge in my life is my relationship with my daughter.
Mhm.
She found out on her own. Why? Because her soul felt very much at home in this sacred, safe space which divine creates for a person online, on Zoom, back then we worked on Skype without camera. And so when a person is ready, I describe it on behalf of the divine, when you take one small step toward divine because you're ready to resolve certain challenge in your life, maybe even more than one. Divine runs already towards you to support you, to heal you, to guide you, to bless you.
Mm.
So to answer your question, the pain point can be very different. And the impact of walking the path together, I don't call it working together, but walking the path together is miracle, it's a blessing, it's a magic. I'll give you another example.
Please.
Back in 2016, I had the blessing to walk the path with a lady from San Francisco. She had something which I don't remember as a challenge. We prayed for this. The very next day, she sent me a message. We're talking about 2016, the end of May. I will never forget, May 28, 2016. She sent me a message. She said, you won't believe it. For the last 16 years, after a severe bicycle accident, I needed to have a walking aid.
Mm.
Only 1 hour so that I can master my life. Only 1 hour after our session together, let's call it this way, I felt a strength in my feet, which I haven't felt for years. From this moment on, she put away her walking aid and she has never used it until today. This can be done only by divine, in
Indeed.
my humble opinion.
I'm completely with you. There's certain things
So,
defy any logic.
exactly. So to answer your question is, I add my contribution to the well-being of human being, so that by clearing out and healing by the divine of all these burdens, karmic attachments, energetical burdens, however we want to call it, then this person is free to live their dream lives in every area of their lives.
Mm.
The
Beautiful.
prerequisite is they have to be willing and ready to receive, to open their hearts widely, to receive the grace of the answered prayer to the divine. And the core part of this prayer, I pray out loud, is forgiveness. Forgive others, forgive yourself for everything what was done or not done. And this is a moment where every time at the end of our college session, I ask people, how do you feel? 100% the answer is lighter. Lighter. Because they don't need to carry this burden anymore of teachings that I have to walk 3 steps behind a man. No, I don't. And the beauty of this work, let's call it work, is that it's never only about us. It releases a whole ancestral lineage, the current members of a family, extended family as well, and the souls which are coming as descendants as well. So I have read somewhere that when it's done from the heart, this kind of session can touch up to 50,000 souls.
Wow.
Up to 50,000 souls. You don't have to agree with this. I'm just bringing it up because it's, for me, it resonates with my life mission. And if we touch directly or not directly, even 10 souls, it was worth it.
How do you do that? How is this possible by working with one person to touch up to 50,000 souls?
Well, I can imagine that but that's a logical explanation. If that applies, you really have to feel in your heart and people who are listening to us. First of all, I firmly believe that we had previous lives.
Absolutely.
And let's say, well, some people are hesitant. We don't impose that into them. I believe that for myself. So if I take only 3 past lives of mine, and I have been a teacher, by working on my healing and releasement, then take 1,000 people I have interacted with in one life. There are statistics which show, for example, that every human being knows at least 2,000 people, directly or not directly. So then you can make the math. These are the direct impacted souls. But these souls have another 2,000. So the number is realistic for me, at least it's resonating with me. And if I lived 10 past lives, not only 3, well, what are 50,000 souls? Nothing compared to the number of the souls which transitioned already the last 10,000 years, which are present on this earth, and so on. So just by talking with you and touching the life of one person, how do you feel in your heart this changed life of this person is going to impact the closest and extended family and all the neighbors and colleagues and classmates, students, and so on. So the impact is beyond our comprehension.
Absolutely. Wow, beautiful. When did you realize that this is your calling?
I knew it all the time.
Ah.
Deep in my heart, I knew it all the time, because this is one thing which I want to share with you. Becoming a dentist was not really my life desire. That was the vision of my parents for my life. And it fit in my vow of becoming a provider for the family, because as a dentist, you can work, I'm going to exaggerate, on the moon as well, right? You can work on every part of the earth differently, of course. People, unfortunately, have to deal with toothache everywhere in the world. So I personally back then wanted to become a musician, believe it or not. And the answer was, discussing with the family, a musician will never be able to provide for the family. This, of course, is a tragedy. Yet for me, it was sufficient. If I want to fulfill my vow, I have to start walking a path which brings me to fulfilling my vow. So to get back to your question, I knew it all the time, and I knew that I cannot fulfill my life purpose by being pure dentist. You're too busy in the hamster wheel of a daily work, dental work, to really sit down for an hour and ask someone, what is the biggest challenge in your life? You are not paid to be in psychologist or chiropractic or whatever you want to call it, or an energy worker. You are paid to be a dentist. So later, as I sold the dental practice and went on an inner quest, then I had the time and the space. I gave it to myself as a gift. Madlena, sit down and reflect upon how you can serve best. What is the divine plan for your life? And in this process of self-reflection and inner quest, again, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. This lady connected with me and said, Madlena, you are the right student for me. Let's go for it.
Love that. Love that.
Maybe that was the moment when she introduced me to her community, and there was no picture, no video. We were only 2016, the end of March 28, I distinctly remember.
Wow.
And she said, Madlena, be yourself. Don't pretend to be someone else, be yourself. And the interesting thing was, of course, she had a company which did a beautiful marketing, very authentic, beautiful marketing. And she introduced me up front before we had this conversation on the phone, it was Skype actually. And she said, if you were ready to give 100%, please get ready to give 150% because people already bought the package we are selling, offering to them, just by looking at your picture and reading your bio. And then I knew, oh my God, I'm on the right path.
Beautiful. So how have you been getting your clients ever since?
By the word of mouth. Because when you are blessed to witness, to be the witness of a miracle, then people care about people they love, even if it's a neighbor.
Totally. Totally. Beautiful.
And I have to say that this person has to be ready.
That's the key.
Yeah. And that's no judgment. This is just energetical, really prerequisite. How open is your heart? With no logical explanation, how open is your heart to receive? Even if you don't know what you're going to receive, just the grace of the divine.
Absolutely.
And I invited yesterday a lady. I said, can we please agree on one thing? Can we put mine and your logical, highly educated mind at peace for the next 60 minutes and talk from the heart and connect from the heart and not look for the explanation? She came back again and again, and I said, let's keep the agreement. Stay connected with your heart. Don't look for confirmation, for logical explanation, because this is where we block divine from bringing the miracle. Even we are doing it unconsciously.
Yeah.
Let divine do the work and
surrender.
It's not easy because we want to be of control.
That little thing called ego comes in the way. Yes.
So we want to go it our way. Everything has to happen our way. Do you know what was one of the most difficult moments in my life?
Tell
When
us.
I wake up in the morning, I'm blessed to live in a country which is very structured, very has a system, structure, discipline, punctual, beautiful traits of this people here. Love it. So what do? I wake up in the morning and I plan my day. Divine comes and says, can I mess up with your plans? And I get angry until I realized Divine knows always better than me. I can have my direction, but the invitation is to let Divine to bring the miracles his way, not my way.
Wow, powerful. And when you surrender to the universe, magic happens. I've seen that happen in my life countless times. There are certain things that happen that completely define all logic. I've seen that happen so many times. And there's certain things that we don't need to understand. Just trust it. Everything's going to work out for you at the end. And again, I've seen that so many times, especially lately. I could do an entire episode just talking about those and write a book on that. I may do that in the future. But yes, I've seen that and it's absolutely powerful, transformational, and even it's liberating at times that hey, you can just surrender, let go. You don't have to be always in control, always have to understand everything, and just trust that there's a higher power that's going to step in and just make things happen.
There's one thing which I want to insert there. Divine has invited me to share this with the world. Pray to the divine and move your feet. So what you just said does not mean, let's make it very clear. It's on my heart. That's why I'm inserting it. It doesn't mean you sit on your couch and you wait for things to fall into your lap.
Come on, no.
That is not surrendering. Surrendering is to ask divine to show you what's the very next step she wants you to take. And you are guided. This is surrendering. You move your feet, whatever that means to you, to me, and everyone else. So surrender does not mean someone else is going to open your heart. Opening your heart is your job, even if it's difficult sometimes, but it's always worth it. Always.
Indeed. Love that. Love that. Listen, let's start wrapping things up. And to finish, I'd like to ask you a series of rapid fire questions on advices. Ready?
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice you've received so far?
Dare to be your authentic self, always in life.
Love that. What's the worst piece of advice you received so far?
Listen to your mind.
Oh, yes. Oh, that little thing, ego. Yeah, totally. Imagine that you were blessed with a time machine and you can go back in time and sit face to face with 18-year-old Madlena. What is the number one piece of advice you would give to her knowing all that you know now?
Don't take and carry the responsibility. I'm going to start crying. For a whole family. For the lessons, they have to learn on their own. Learn only your lessons, Madlena.
Completely agree with that. I completely relate with that. Yes, yes, yes. Do you have your own podcast?
No, not yet.
What's the number one reason that has been holding you back from having your podcast?
I told you, you asked me this beautiful question, lack of clarity. Because I firmly believe, for me, clarity leads to power. When I know exactly what my message is, what I love people to hear, then I firmly believe that things are falling into place because the clarity leads 100% to power.
Absolutely.
So lack of clarity is the reason number one and the only one.
Yes. Okay. Imagine that today you have your podcast, you have your clarity, and it's a very successful podcast. And today you're interviewing the most special person in the world, which is yourself.
Yeah.
What is the first question that comes to mind that you want to ask yourself?
I'm going to ask myself.
Yes. You're interviewing yourself.
What was the most transformational moment in your life, Madlena?
And what's the answer?
Do we have a couple of minutes?
Give you 3 minutes.
1998, I had to face the diagnosis cancer of the uterus. And to make the story short, it's a Sunday, June 23rd, 1998. And I've tried everything. I've turned to experts, I turned to specialists and so on to find the answers. And I did not find them. And I'm saying this respectfully. And this Sunday, knowing that I am facing 6-7 hours surgery the very next day, I don't know if I'm going to wake up from the surgery. I went on my knees, physically and emotionally naked, having no energy to cry, having no energy to talk, no energy to fight. There was no strong woman I used to be. I was physically and emotionally on my knees and naked, also because I had only one piece of clothes on my body. And in this moment of complete surrender, there was only me and higher power. And coming from this scientific background, believing that I can achieve everything through hard work, I whispered, I didn't have the power to speak. If there is God, higher power, heal me. I want to be there for my children, 4 and 11 back then. And instantly, a voice came. My beloved daughter, go back. You're healed. And I thought I was dreaming, but it was sufficient to get comforted, to go through the surgery. This was Monday, the surgery. The same week, Friday, the surgeon who provided an excellent work with the surgery, removing the uterus, removing 40 lymph nodes, 20 on the right and 20 on the right side, on the left and right side. He came to me and he said, the surgery didn't have to happen. And what? Why? We cut all possible slices of the uterus and of the lymph nodes. We put them under microscope. We didn't find even one cancer cell, not even one. Where did they go? There is one thing which I have to add. This voice told me, you are healed, go back to bed. But there is one prerequisite, one term. You promise me that you're gonna radically change your life. Do you promise me?
Wow.
And here is a story. 10 years after that, 2008, I'm running again at the dental practice, treating this treating room and the other one, a reception and so on. All of a sudden, a voice came. What did you promise me? Look at the calendar. Exactly the same date, 10 years after.
June
I
23rd,
forgot my promise. I'm a human being.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, this was the most transformational moment in my life where I was given 1000% proof everything is possible when you connect with the divine within you, not up there, here. And open your heart to receive the gift of this power.
Amen. Absolutely. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for opening your heart. That's very touching, very beautiful, and very, very inspiring. Thank you.
My
Wow.
absolute pleasure.
This would be worth an entire episode just on that episode and how you went through that, the internal, struggles, fighting, the frustration, and all that. Even would be worth a book, a few books, because again, as I always keep saying, we all go to our fair share of pain, trauma, abuse, disease, tragedy, and all that. Sure, it hurts a lot when we go to them, but then they become our story. Our story becomes our gifts. Then your gifts become your duty and responsibility to share them with the world. Because, from my humble understanding, yes, life is a school. We come here to learn, grow, become better and wiser. But that's only 5% of what we are here. The 95% is taking those gifts, those wisdom, those lessons, and share them with others around us and around the world. And what you've been blessed with, Madlena, this is a transformational, transformative, and life changing, life saving gift. You need to first embrace it loud and proud, and then share it in whatever way is more comfortable for you. For me, for example, is to speak in my podcast, my books, my talks. Someone else might be to music, painting, acting, sports. Find your outlet, what's most natural for you, and share your gifts. This is, from my understanding, one of the ultimate reasons why we are here.
Absolutely.
So please share that story. You have the universe's blessings. A lot of time we wait for approval or, God forbid, authorization from people that we consider important in our lives, but you don't need nobody's permission. Just follow your heart, follow that voice, that gut feeling, that intuition, that instinct. First of all, embrace it loud and proud. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't try to hide it, and then share it. I've had so many people open up their heart, share things and never shared, things that were completely life shattering, like people that lost it all, went to jail, had to rebuild themselves from scratch.
Guilt.
People that overcame terminal diseases,
Yeah.
people that overcame life altering accidents, becoming paraplegic, becoming handicapped. And then they all, without hesitation, unequivocally, they all said, that was the greatest gift of my life. I had people say jail was the greatest gift of their life. People say cancer was the greatest gift of their life. And when you first hear that, you say, what the hell are you talking about? Are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? And when you listen to the story, wow, I needed to go to that so we can stop and, so to speak, smell roses and focus on what truly matters. It's not about getting a bigger house, the next promotion, the next car, the next telephone, the next bag. It's about nurturing relationships, building more relationships, more powerful relationships, helping, inspiring, taking care of yourself, your family, your health. What really sets your heart on fire, sets your soul going. And this is why the pandemic, in a way, yes, it has been a horrible thing for the world. But in a way, if you look at it, it's been an incredible blessing in disguise, because that allowed a lot of people to really reassess their lives, reassess their priorities. It's not about working harder, getting a bigger house, next promotion. It's about, hey, reconnect with your loved ones, clear some issues, reconnect for yourself, build new relationships, find your purpose. Anyways, I'm gonna stop here, blabbering on that, but this is very powerful. And long story, thank you for sharing this. And now, please, the universe needs you to accept, embrace loud and proud your gift, and then share them louder and prouder. You have the universe's, I wouldn't say permission, but the universe's push in the right direction. Hey, Madlena, this is your time. Step
Yeah.
up. You know, not only family, loved ones are cheering for you, but the most important people are cheering for you, for me, for all of us. These are our future clients that need us, desperately need us. Not just client, even people that need your story to inspire them, to empower them, to give them hope, to give them belief. Like you said, you overcame cancer. Cancer for most people is the death sentence. They say, oh, life is over. But you, to the power of belief in a higher self, surrendering. We come back to that topic again. Surrender to the process. Surrender doesn't mean just wait and wait for death to come. No. Surrendering
No.
means trust the universe that everything is working out for you. I've seen that so many times in my life, as I said, by simply surrendering, even completely impossible situations magically open up. Just like you, for example.
So
Yeah, just like cancer, for example, gone. Poof, no more. Or mental blocks, whatever. I used to be incredibly painfully shy. Look at me now. People that know me now, they say, "What happened to you? Did you make a pact with the devil?" Absolutely not. Never did, never will. Once you find your purpose, your
exactly.
reason for being here, your ikigai, then you become the person you're meant to be. And that's when you can really step
And
up.
you find your voice, right?
Exactly. So you can step up to becoming the person you're meant to be and have the impact you're meant to. I don't know, you can see I'm getting goosebumps here, you know? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
anyways, enough blabbering. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing it. Please, the universe is waiting for you to step up and share your beautiful stories very soon to you on podcasts, your books, your talks, whatever you're going to do, one person at a time, around you and around the world.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Very welcome. On that note, the last question I ask, and that's my favorite question to ask, and that is, what is the smallest thing you've done that has had the greatest, deepest, most profound positive impact on both your life and business? For example, for me, it's been starting my podcast. What about you, Madlena?
The smallest thing,
Yes. The one thing you did that has had the greatest, most profound positive impact in both your life and business.
daring to sell my dental practice and follow my inner calling.
Wow.
That was a turning point in my life, where from the 100% pure scientist, I became the person deeply connected with my heart, with the divine part in me. And science is a great foundation to build on.
So,
I feel in my heart that the greatest achievement of our society is to bring, let's call it spirituality, because it's the spirit, the human spirit, to bring it together with the science, not against each other, but with each other, complementing each other. Because the science admits that 99% of all physical and mental diseases, including accidents, are caused by not balanced emotions.
yes.
And this is the key for the
Mm.
healing, bringing all the achievements of the science, medicine, traditional medicine, and the power of human spirit. I firmly believe that when healing is 100%, 20% is due to the traditional medicine, 20% is due to the non-traditional medicine, 60% is the power of human spirit. If I firmly believe that I'm going to get well and healthy, no one and nothing is going to stop me.
Absolutely. Beautiful words to live by and to follow religiously. Absolutely. No pun intended. Okay, awesome. Now, what's the best way to reach out to you if someone wants to connect with you?
The best way right now is to go on LinkedIn and type my name, Madlena Kantscheff, and connect with me. And
Beautiful.
from there, we can find a way to communicate with each other. I'm
Okay.
also on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So the person who looks for me will find me. Let's put it this way. And yet, to give them a direction, thank you
Or they will be
for it.
connected to you somehow, some way, right? The universe is someone.
Exactly. Some people meet on a serving circle meeting, right? And then miracles come out of there.
Or it can be, message in a bottle, message delivered by a pigeon or whatever, a
Yeah.
song. Yeah, absolutely. Love that. Listen, Madeleine, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, unpacking your captivating, inspiring, empowering story. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for opening up your heart. I salute you. You're truly with a heart. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world, your presence, your impact, your gifts. And always remember, you, Madlena, you are a beautiful gift. On that note, I
Thank you.
salute you. God bless. And talk to you very soon, my
Thank
friend.
you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.